Newsmakers Live, now in its 10th season, salutes the superwomen of Georgia. The women of Atlanta and all of Georgia are creating positive change in business, politics, and the civic influence of our communities.
The culture piece, really getting everyone to understand that this organization is not an employment agency. This organization is not a bank and loan company. This organization isn't a place to leverage what needs to happen politically for somewhere else. That it is an organization where we are required by statute and should by our own integrity serve the families and children so that they have access to a quality education. And changing that culture, having people understand that that is what we're here to do first. And we'll try to help leverage other things for Atlanta. We'll try to be open-minded to different people who might want to be employed with the system. But first, we want experts in front of children. We want nationally board certified teachers. We want people who are experts in international baccalaureate. We want the best people who are in engineering, science, and math. And after we do all that, and if there are resources still available to innovate and perhaps create other things, we're open to it. But first, we have to do our business first.
You had to be tough. You had to be real tough. There's a lot of politics. A lot of stuff goes on around.
There are a lot of politics. Yes.
So you've learned to have some thick skin or say no to a lot of people.
And
you won a big battle at your school back too.
Yes, we've been doing a lot, and I don't know if I'm thick-skinned enough. You can feel the whoopings while they're happening, to say the least. But the only reason why it's you can endure it, the reason I show up every day, the reason I'm still super excited about what we're doing is that at every turn we try to do the right thing for the right reasons at the right time. And when you're doing that in the spirit of making sure that children have a bright future and a future that says they have opportunities, it is easy to make that decision in favor of the child. Now that does upset a lot of adults. That does not put me in favor with some people. And rightfully so. I mean, there are other agendas at play. And so, like I said, we try to be good partners, and I think we've been very successful in that. I've seen our partnership work increase 100-fold. There are many people who are coming back to the table to team up and partner with us. And that has allowed us to do many things that we would not have been able to do on our own. We wanted, for example, a really great investment in reading. And we have partners in the college football playoff who came and helped us raise and pull together about $2 million to get that off the ground. We've wanted to put technology in the hands of every student. Sprint stepped up and helped us with Sprint 1 million to ensure that all of our 9th graders would be the starting class to have a digital device. And we also saw our giving increase by at least 10% for the district. And in real numbers, that's about $47 million that is from private special revenue to do innovative special work for kids and clusters and schools that we would have never had. So I think that there's a healthy respect for us trying to do the right thing for children. And while that gets tested all the time, in the end, I think that at least the message that people are getting is that if you can align with us and help us leverage an agenda for children, you will find an open, willing partner who will get creative with you in trying to help you achieve your agenda too. If you are only looking out for yourself and for what you can get from APS or do just for your agenda, then fair enough, you're probably going to be met with a fight.
Well, you sound like you're talking about Mayor Carstarphen really about the fight and the collaboration part of Mayor Bottom. Is there a big difference between then and now in terms of the mayor's office?
Both mayors have had, their strengths. There are things that the former administration would do that was helpful in different ways. But this administration has been very targeted about the things that we have put on the table that needed to be addressed. We absolutely wanted to solve the 40-year issue with the deeds dispute. I think that was very straightforward, and this administration and the current mayor has been a great partner in that. We have asked them to look again at tax allocation districts where some could be sunset and other investments could be made to benefit not only communities but also the schools, and that process is starting too. We've asked for greater investment in early childhood, and I'm hoping to see that in soon that there will be a great partnership with other early childhood investors, including the City of Atlanta and Atlanta Public Schools in that work. And so and all these things cost a lot of money and have a lot of legs to them and a lot of details. But we've been very encouraged by what we've been seeing, and I was really pleased to see Mayor Bottoms came to one of our kind of pre-kickoff graduation events at her alma mater, Douglas High School, and that was great. I think it just I was inspired. Just such an encouraging message for children, and at the same time, one of our smaller graduations for students or young adults who are getting their GED. She came and spoke for those students who are in an alternative, design to get their education, to get their high school certifications, and I just think that just shows a great openness to areas that you would assume somebody would be aligned with, their alma mater, but also gives me hope that every child and every family might have a new fighting chance to get out of intergenerational poverty with a fresh look at how we can team up and be better partners between the city and the school system.
But Superintendent Carstarphen, isn't it sad we sit here today, parents and colleagues of yours across the country are worried about can kids graduate, can they go to school safely? Santa Fe, Parkland,
Right.
School violence, school shootings. More children have died in schools than in servicemen in the military. That's got to trouble.
Oh, it's terrifying. It is the thing we worry about the most when families put their kids on a school bus or drop them off, at the front door of a school. There certainly was a time where school, and still, it is a safe place by and large, but there are so many other conditions about how laws work, what children have access to, what they're being exposed to, that is bigger than the school environment. And some of those things from the neighborhood, from what kids are bringing, come into the school site. And so, I send my deepest condolences to all of those districts and school communities that have been affected by violence. But we are, doubling down on our approach on how to keep kids safe.
What is that?
When I first started here, when I first spent time with you, we did not have police officers. It was a kind of a contract with the city. We would get officers when officers were available. It was somewhat structured, but nothing like other metro districts in the Atlanta area. And so we modeled ours on a design similar to Fulton County and Gwinnett County schools. And we now, with the help of the National Institute for Justice out of Washington, D.C., have a new design and a department. And we are able to fund that independently. We have our own police department, and we are training officers to have age-appropriate skills that are social and emotional in their base, with policing where they are absolutely sworn-in officers of the law. So they have all the authority of a police officer, but also are being trained in the educational components and the psychosocial components of what it means to work with children. And so we have dedicated officers at our high schools and our middle schools, and we also have officers that support our elementary schools.
So as a grandparent, I can send my kid to school. Is there officers there? Middle school and high school?
Yes, sir.
Every school?
Yes, sir. And some schools have more than one. We don't have unlimited resources, but we do a great job of fully resourcing our police department. And we are doing other things. We are learning a lot, sadly, from the recent shootings, and like how if you have not been in combat, if you have not been involved in good practice around active shooters, you need it. We read story after story about officers, school-based officers, school resource officers, when hearing the gunshots and the mayhem, went in the opposite direction. And we don't want our officers to do that. So we have active shooter training. They have scheduled trainings, and then sometimes we do what we call kind of like kids have a pop quiz. It's like a pop moment, and they go in, they think they're going for one training, and we put them in active shooter training, and they practice in real time. We have evaluators and assessors of that give them real-time feedback so that they understand how they did and what they could have done better to protect the school and to bring the school back under control. We're also going to do next year, which is something we've also learned, sadly, from the Santa Fe high school shooting, learning that because kids have access to assault weapons and they can bring a lot of ammunition into a building with just one person, we've lost teachers in addition to students in some of these experiences, and because of that, we want to train students. If you read the Santa Fe, one of the classrooms, the teacher went to close the door and was mortally wounded in trying to do that. And so students had to kind of take control of their own classroom and implement the steps on behalf of the teacher. And they did a great job. Although some students were wounded, many were saved because of their own actions. And so we want to do more to teach students on how to protect themselves, how to get control of their own classroom if they were to lose the teacher or not have an adult available to advise them, and to help them just be more comfortable and alert and know how to lean in when they have to around these terrible circumstances. But I think, I never thought I would see this in my career.
Is this a sign of the times? Schools are supposed to be for academics and learning and enjoying life. Now it's about life and death. Did you ever learn that in your training to become a superintendent?
It was very, at least in my training, you learn about safety and security, but it wasn't, it was more around like natural disasters or something that would happen somewhere else, and you had to move a school or kind of lock down a building. These days are different, and I'll tell you something else that we're doing is we're renovating and investing in new buildings, we are redesigning how you enter and exit schools. And so we are getting better and better at kind of the one entry point, trying not to have schools feel like prisons, but narrowing the entry and the exit of schools, teaching kids about how unsafe it is to pop up a door or to not redirect a visitor to the front office. Today, you'll notice if you come into a building, you'll come in and there's a little bit of a foyer where you have to wait. You can't enter the building. You would have to go into an office before you could go straight into a building. And so we've learned a lot about some of these designs, and as we can, we are making those adjustments along the way.
Do you believe a way of combating this issue is arming teachers?
I feel far more comfortable because if you using experts in law enforcement before I would start training teachers. I mean, you made a point earlier. We still need people to be focused on the main thing, and that's teaching and learning. And if you have people, and people will tell you, teachers will tell you already, I mean, they feel like they are teachers, they are mothers, they are fathers, they are cheerleaders, they are, nurses, they do a lot around safety and security, even in their own classrooms. But to expect them to also be responsible at that level, I think is a real distraction from what we really want them to do. We want to take more of those other ancillary duties away and allow them to be the physics teacher, and a really great physics teacher who is focused on just teaching the kids and making sure they're getting the rigor they need to graduate on time and have a choice-filled life. So I don't support the concept of arming the instructors.
Well, the students you encounter, are they afraid by what they see, or are they turned on by the violence? And I mean, do you have copycats? You worry about copycats?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. After the shooting in Florida, we were on spring break, and when we came back, we had some kids who made a lot of bad choices by pretending like, or getting on social media and acting like they were going to bring violence into the school. Now, what I've learned about our students is they are far more responsible than they are, and I would say they have a healthy fear of allowing that kind of behavior to get out of hand. So what I saw was students telling us, the adults, who posted the information on social media and who to go find in the sea of all kids that we could track down. And we tracked down all of our threats against schools. And I even met with parents and the kids and helped work with them about the consequences of what was going to happen, because it is considered a terrorist threat. And so if parents and kids think that it's, a joke and that they'll get off, they won't. They will, they get charged, they can go to jail. There are fines in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. It is the U.S. Attorney General and others take these kinds of acts very seriously, and especially after Santa Fe High School, and as quickly on the heels of Florida, I don't think that there will be any margin for sympathy if kids are acting out in inappropriate ways with false threats. But I don't think that they get excited about it. If anything, the difference that I see is how our students in urban settings talk about violence. They feel like they know their communities, because in Atlanta, I can't say this is nationwide, but because Atlanta is a community of neighborhoods, and we have so many legacy high schools and middle schools in particular, even elementary. I mean, Atlanta acts really old school in this way, and people love it because they can go back and talk about how their great-grandparents attended these schools. And because they can say that, there is kids feel like they know the neighborhood and they know who's kind of crazy and who they need to tell, the police about. Yeah, like, this is getting out of hand. This happened in the neighborhood over the weekend. This may be coming into schools, or this scuffle happened at a football game. We think something might happen on Monday. What our urban black kids in Atlanta talk about the most is, why isn't anyone doing something about the violence in the neighborhoods? Because they don't see it as, we're afraid of our classmates. They see it as stuff happening in the community related to drugs, human trafficking, other inappropriate behaviors of adults that put pressure on kids in the neighborhood, and they feel more vulnerable when they're out shooting hoops in a neighborhood court, and there's a drive-by shooting. I mean, every month we hear about a kid being shot, or a parent or a caregiver with a 4-year-old being shot or hurt in the neighborhoods. That's what they talk to me about. They want to know why, and understanding that this is all tragic in schools, but they don't see their exposure in the same way as the last 2 school shootings. And so when they talk to me about what they're concerned about adults who are doing illegal, inappropriate things in neighborhoods, putting pressure on neighborhood kids and other adults, and they get caught in the crossfire. That's what they worry about. And but they also don't want this stuff happening in their schools, so they tell. And I remember right after spring break, kids called me on my cell phone, reached out to me directly and said, I think I know who did this. Will you come and talk to me at school? And I did, and we were able to track down at least 3. I mean, and find out who they were. And one of them, like I said, I'm still so disappointed because I knew her. And I was so upset because her parents talked to her and she knew better. But under a lot of peer pressure, made a bad decision. But do I think she was going to hurt the school? Absolutely not.
Dr. Meria Carstarphen, 4 years ago you came here, the city was bemoaning and bad-mouthing the Atlanta Public Schools in the newspapers and on television. Now we're applauding you. Not only you're a superwoman for 2018, you're possibly a candidate for the next mayor.
Oh, okay. That'll get exciting.
Now, please, before we conclude, finishing commentary from my partner, Mr. Jim Welton.
Well, again, we have a riveting interview. She hadn't made it. She was teaching made it. When teachers get hold of the microphone, it's amazing. We're in a better place than we were the last time she was here. A much better place.
Yeah.
Atlanta school system is in a much better place. We have a lot of faith in this lady. We want this lady to win. We can help you. Any way we can help you, we'll be glad to help you. Our children are in your hands. This has been Newsmakers.